They say the gym is where people go to build their bodies. But for me, it became the place where I rebuilt my life. The day I walked into that room filled with weights, mirrors, and strangers, carried more than just a gym bag. Carried heartbreak, fear, and the heavy belief that love was no longer meant for me. I didn't come to find anyone. I didn't come to be noticed. In fact, all I wanted was to disappear quietly into the background. But fate had other plans. Because on that very first day, with sweat dripping from my forehead, legs shaking from the treadmill, and my confidence sitting somewhere at rock bottom, I looked up and saw him, Adrian, the gym instructor whose calm eyes saw more than my struggle, whose gentle voice eased the storm inside me, whose presence felt like warmth I didn't know I still needed. And that was the moment everything changed. I didn't know it yet, but I was about to learn that sometimes, love doesn't find you when you're ready. It finds you when you're broken, when you least expect it, and when one kind soul decides to hold your hand through the healing. This is the story of how a gym instructor made me believe in love again. If you enjoy emotional African love stories like this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful storytelling. I used to believe love was a beautiful thing. I used to believe marriage meant safety, trust, and a future. I used to believe I would grow old with Michael, my husband of 5 years. But everything changed the day I came home early from work and found a woman's shoes at the entrance of my home. Shoes that weren't mine. A soft laugh drifted from the bedroom. His laugh. Another voice. A woman's voice. My heart dropped into my stomach. I walked toward the door on shaking legs, already knowing what I would find. But hoping, praying, it was something else. It wasn't. There he was. My husband. And another woman in our bed. The bed we bought together. The bed we shared. The bed where he promised me love. He didn't even look ashamed. He just stared at me, shocked, annoyed, as if I was interrupting something minor. He said it was a mistake. Said it meant nothing. Told me I was overreacting. Overreacting. I left that night with only my handbag, car keys, and a heart that felt like someone had stabbed it over and over again. I cried for days. Barely ate. Barely slept. My sister, Pamela, was the one who finally dragged me out of the house. "You will not stay here and die slowly," she said firmly. "You will heal. You will glow again. You will find yourself." And that was how she forced me to do the one thing I never expected. Join a gym. A gym, me, the queen of avoiding workouts. But little did I know, walking into that place would change my life in ways I could never imagine. Because inside that building was a man who would teach me how to breathe again, how to smile again, how to believe again. His name was Adrian. And he had no idea he was about to heal a broken woman. The gym smelled of iron, sweat, and determination. 3 things I had never been fond of. 3 things that reminded me of discipline, grit, and effort. Things I had forgotten how to offer myself. I hesitated at the doorway, staring at the rows of weights, machines, and people who looked like they were carved from stone. I felt out of place, like a lost soul who had wandered into a warrior's arena. "Come on," my sister Pamela whispered, nudging me forward. "You've cried enough. Now it's time to sweat it out." I wanted to disagree. Sweat didn't fix heartbreak. Sweat didn't remove betrayal. Sweat didn't erase memories of walking in on my husband and his new lover. But before I could argue, Pamela waved excitedly. "There. That's the instructor I told you about." I followed her gaze. And my breath stopped where it was. Adrian. He was standing near the squat rack, adjusting weights for another client. Even from across the room, he radiated calm confidence. His dark brown skin glistened slightly under the gym lights. His athletic build wasn't bulky or intimidating, just strong, balanced, powerful in a quiet way. His jawline, sharp and defined, contrasted with the softness in his eyes. Eyes that watched people carefully, not judging, not mocking, just observing, guiding, caring. He wasn't like the loud, aggressive trainers shouting at clients. He moved with the calmness of someone who knew his purpose. Every step he took felt intentional. Every word he spoke seemed measured. He carried a peace that made me want to breathe deeper. He finally turned and spotted us approaching. When his eyes met mine, his expression warmed instantly. "Ah," he said, walking toward us with a smile that felt like sunrise. "You must be Amara." His voice was deep, gentle, soothing. It was the kind of voice that could steady a trembling heart. "I hear I'll be helping you on your fitness journey." Fitness journey. If only he knew my real journey was healing, survival, rebirth. I nodded awkwardly, suddenly hyper-aware of how red my eyes still were. Yes, that's me." He chuckled softly, a sound so genuine it made something flutter in my chest. "No pressure," he said. "We'll start slow, one step at a time." But when I tried my first workout, slow wasn't the problem. Everything was the problem. He asked me to stretch. I nearly pulled a muscle. He asked me to hold a plank. I collapsed after 3 seconds. He handed me a 5 kilograms dumbbell. I almost dropped it on my foot. And the treadmill. The treadmill and I had an instant war. I stepped on it, pressed one button wrong, and suddenly it sped up like it was trying to fling me out of the building. I screamed. The entire gym turned to look. I nearly flew off the back if not for Adrian, who rushed over, grabbed the safety handle, and steadied me with both hands. The moment he touched me, something inside me froze. Not in fear, but in a strange, unexpected awareness. He helped me off the treadmill slowly. "It's okay, Amara," he said softly. "I've seen worse." "I doubt it," I muttered, embarrassed. He smiled. "Trust me. You survived the treadmill. That alone makes you a champion." By the end of the session, I was sweating like a broken tap. My clothes clung to me. My hair was a disaster. My legs felt like cooked spaghetti. But Adrian never laughed at me. Not once. He didn't even smirk. Instead, he handed me a towel with that warm smile that somehow made the storm inside me settle. "You're doing better than you think," he said. "Most people don't even show up." Most people didn't have their hearts shattered either. I wanted to tell him that. I wanted to say that showing up had been the hardest part of my entire week. I wanted to tell him that I came here empty, hoping to feel something again. But the words stayed trapped inside. Over the next few days I returned, mostly because Pamela forced me, but partly because of him. He learned my limits, and gently stretched them. He corrected my posture with a light touch, careful, respectful, never lingering. He encouraged me with soft words that felt like therapy. "Breathe. You've got this. One more try. I'm right here." And slowly, painfully slowly, something inside me started to shift. My chest felt less heavy, my breathing less tight, my thoughts less crowded. One afternoon after a session, I realized something shocking. I was smiling, actual smiling. And even more shocking, I found myself looking forward to the gym, looking forward to seeing him, to hearing him say my name in that warm, soothing tone, to feeling his presence nearby, to knowing someone believed I could be strong again. But I denied it. I couldn't fall for anyone again. I wasn't ready. My heart wasn't ready. Or maybe it was. Maybe healing had begun the moment he said my name. Maybe hope was creeping back in quietly, gently. Maybe strength came not from lifting weights, but from letting someone lift your spirit. And Adrian, without knowing it, was lifting mine. 2 weeks after joining the gym, I walked in with swollen eyes. Eyes that had cried the whole morning, cried in the car, cried in the parking lot, and cried again right at the entrance. I tried to wipe my face before anyone saw me, but it was useless. Tears had a way of making themselves known. Adrian was across the room adjusting weights when he spotted me. His expression shifted instantly. The calm, warm glow disappeared, replaced by worry. He walked toward me quickly, his steps long and purposeful. "Amara," he said softly. "What happened?" I opened my mouth to answer, but the words wouldn't come out. My throat tightened, my chest ached, and suddenly all the emotions I had been holding back rushed forward at once. He didn't hesitate. He gently took my elbow and guided me toward a quieter, empty section of the gym, near the yoga mats, away from the noise, the mirrors, and the curious eyes. "Sit," he said. I sank onto the mat. He sat beside me, not too close, not too far. Just the perfect distance that made me feel seen but not pressured. For a while I couldn't speak. My breath trembled. My hands shook. And still, he didn't rush me. Finally, I let out a shaky whisper. "I saw my ex-husband today." Adrian's brows tightened slightly, but he didn't comment. He waited. "He came with her," I said, the words breaking as they left my mouth. "The woman who replaced me. The woman who now held his hand the way I used to." My voice cracked. "He acted like nothing happened, Adrian. Like I was the problem. He said I should move on. He said I was being dramatic." My tears spilled again. I hated crying in public. I hated feeling weak. But around Adrian, it felt safe. "I'm so tired," I whispered. "I'm tired of hurting." Adrian stayed silent for a moment, letting my words sink into the air between us. Then he spoke, quietly, gently. "Amara, can I tell you something?" He nodded. "You're not hurting because you're weak," he said. "You're hurting because you loved honestly. You gave your heart to someone who didn't know how to handle something precious." My breath caught. He continued, his voice low and steady. "A broken heart doesn't mean you failed. It means you tried. And that takes courage." I closed my eyes and let his words settle into the cracks inside me. "I feel angry," I whispered. "And ashamed. And tired. And confused." "That's normal," he said. "Heartbreak isn't a switch. It's a wound. And wounds take time." His voice had a way of making everything make sense. "Talk to me," he said softly. "If you want. If you can." And unexpectedly, I did. I told him everything. How Michael changed slowly over the years. How I felt myself fading in the marriage. How the betrayal broke something that wasn't just love. It broke my self-worth. I told him about the loneliness, the insecurity, the fear of trusting again. I talked until my voice grew hoarse. Through it all, he listened. Truly listened. Not the kind of listening where someone waits to speak, but the kind where every word you say is held with care. When I finally finished, he exhaled deeply. "I'm sorry you went through that," he said. "You didn't deserve any of it." Then he looked into my eyes, really looked. "You didn't lose a man, Amara," he said. "You lost a burden. And you gained a chance to find someone who will see you for who you are." My heart skipped, not because of romance but because of relief. Because his words were the first ones in months that didn't feel like knives. I wiped my face clumsily. "I'm such a mess," I muttered. "No," he said quietly. "You're human. And you're allowed to feel." His words wrapped around me like a blanket. Then gently he reached out and handed me a clean gym towel. Not a hug. Not a touch. Not anything rushed. Just a small, thoughtful gesture that meant everything. "You don't have to be okay today," he said. "But you showed up. And that's bravery." For the first time that morning I breathed. Really breathed. He stood slowly and extended his hand. "Come," he said with a soft smile. "Let's do something simple today. Something light." I hesitated. He added, "I'm here. You're not alone." And with that simple sentence, something changed inside me. Not love. Not attraction. Something deeper. Trust. The kind of trust that feels like the first ray of light after a long, dark night. The kind of trust that tells you healing is possible. That day, in that quiet corner of the gym, something new began. Bond. Tenderness. A fragile connection that neither of us fully understood yet. But it was real. And it was only the beginning. For the first time in months, my mornings came with purpose. Not because of the gym. Not because of the workouts. But because of him. Adrian. Every day he greeted me with the same warm smile. Soft, steady, reassuring. The kind of smile that felt like a hand gently pulling you out of darkness. But with every smile, every touch, every encouragement, my fear grew. I had been hurt before, broken in a way I swore nobody would ever get close again. So every time he leaned a little closer, I stepped back. Every time he praised me, I brushed it off. Every time he asked how I truly felt, I changed the subject. But Adrian saw right through me. One Friday evening, after most people had left the gym, he stopped me as I packed my bag. "Amara," he said quietly. "Can we talk?" My heart jumped. I wasn't ready. I wasn't sure I'd ever be. "Talk about what?" I muttered, pretending not to understand. He exhaled slowly, folding his arms. "About why you're hurting." Froze. He continued, his voice gentle, not demanding, not forceful, just genuine. "You're strong, determined. You show up even when you're struggling. But behind your strength, there's a weight you carry that has nothing to do with the gym." I swallowed hard. He was right. He had seen too much. "I don't want to push you," he said. "I just want you to know you're safe here. With me." Such a simple word. Yet no word had scared me more. "Adrian," I whispered, "I don't think I'm ready to open up to anyone." He nodded slowly, stepping back to give me space. "Then we'll go at your pace. No rush." Something in my chest cracked open. Nobody had ever said that to me before. No rush. As I turned to leave, he called out softly, "Amara." I looked back. "No matter what hurt you," he said, eyes holding mine, "you deserve to be loved in a way that heals." The words hit me harder than any workout. And for the first time I let myself wonder, could I really love again? The next few weeks were different. Not because the workouts got easier, but because I did. I laughed more, smiled more, breathed more freely. And Adrian was always there, steady as sunrise. One evening, during a stretching session, my phone slipped from my pocket and fell face up on the floor. Picture lit up the screen. Me and my ex, smiling, pretending. Adrian saw it. He didn't ask questions. He didn't judge. But he knelt beside me and asked quietly, "Is he the reason you stopped believing in yourself?" I felt tears sting my eyes. "He broke me, Adrian. I gave everything and got left with nothing." He didn't reach out to hug me. He didn't try to fix me. Instead, he said, "Then let me help you rebuild, brick by brick. Only if you want me to." His gentleness melted every wall I had ever built. For the first time in months, I let myself cry. Not the silent tears I cried alone at home, but the raw, trembling kind that comes from the deepest part of the heart. Adrian sat beside me, not touching, just present. When I was done, he offered his hand. Not to hold, not to force, just offered. I stared at it for a long moment, and then I placed my hand in his. Warm, firm. That was the moment something shifted forever. Days later, on a quiet evening when the gym was empty, he turned to me after our session. "Amara," he said softly, "I care about you, not just as your instructor, not just as a friend." My heart raced. "I care about the woman you're becoming," he continued. "Strong, confident, beautiful, and I'd like to walk beside you. If you'll let me." My voice trembled. "Adrian, I'm scared." He smiled, stepping closer, not too close. "Just enough. Then let's be scared together. And let's take it slow." Low. Exactly what my heart needed. I took a shaky breath and whispered, "Okay." His smile lit up the room. "And Amara," he murmured. "Yes. You're worth every second of this journey." He pulled me into a gentle embrace, the kind that wasn't demanding or rushed or heavy. Just safe, just right. And for the first time in a long time, my heart didn't run, didn't hide. It didn't hurt. It opened. And in that quiet, beautiful moment, I realized I wasn't falling in love with a gym instructor. I was falling in love with a man who taught me how to love myself again.